Hey guys, Zach with Zach Mac Fishing here, and appreciate you guys following the channel. I want to talk to you about Ned rigs. They're one of my favorite things to use. If you've watched my videos, you'll see that I've caught a lot of fish with them. They're fantastic in extreme temperatures, whether it's hot or cold, just because of the subtle nature of the rig. But there are some ways that you can improperly fish a Ned rig, and just from talking to folks over the years, I have kind of identified some problems that I'm hoping I can help you with. The first thing I want to talk about are the components themselves. Whether we're talking about, and sorry, I know I've got a bobber in here, but this is an older package that I've put other stuff in. But whether we're talking about the NED TRD, which is your smaller Ned rig, it's like that. It's not big at all, right? Or whether we're talking about the big TRD, looks like that. You can see that the big TRD is quite a bit longer than the finesse. Or whether we're talking about the craw, okay? Regardless of which of these particular items you're talking about, you're going to have to use the real thing. And I say that, you know, I will tell you I am absolutely the most frugal fisherman there is. Most of my tackle comes from Walmart, and it does me just fine. The Z-Man product, and it's just like when you go to the store, there are some things you can buy the generic brand, and it's the same, and there are some things that are not. In the fishing world, this is one of those things where you can't really accept any substitutions, okay? Because Z-Man uses this stuff, this ELZA tech, that makes these Ned rigs super light. And when you rig it correctly, that tail just does this, straight up and down in the water, okay? I see people try to use just regular worms or a section of a regular worm. That won't work. I don't know what this stuff is exactly, and I can tell you that if you leave it in your pickup on a hot sunny day, you're going to have a bag of liquid mess, okay? But it is super, super lightweight and buoyant. And so sectioning off just a regular Senko or a piece of worm, whatever it might be, you'll lose that buoyancy, won't stand up, it won't work. So gonna have to go with the Z-Man ELZA material, just because, you know, and they've got a patent on this, I'm sure. There'll probably be some other brands come out when their patent expires, but for now I wouldn't sub anything. The other thing that I see people making the mistake of is not using the right jigs. I see people using round jig heads, or maybe like a mushroom jig head. And, you know, a round jig head I don't think really works at all, because the whole point is for this thing to stand straight up and down. So what you want to use is a flat jig head. Looks like that. All right, and you can see that is completely flat right there. You see that? There we go. Yeah. Got to have a flat jig head. And here's the reason. When we put these on, in the other thing you want to do is rig these correctly, okay? There's a kind of an end, I don't know if you can see that, but this tail has some little bitty kind of like studs on it, little bitty bumps. See if I can get you to where you can see that. See those little studs on the top part of the tail? This part of the tail with the bumps is heavier. You want it to wiggle. So when we put one of these things together, we're going to use the less heavy part without the studs. We're going to go up this way, Okay. And you want it to be just as straight as it can be. Doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, but you want it to be as straight as it possibly can be, and you might have to work with it a little bit. And again, this is not perfect, but you can see right there, it's more or less straight. So this is what you have. You have a jig that sits flat, just like that. Okay, it'll sit on the bottom. And this tail right here does this. Okay, let me do that. There you go. That's a better look. Okay, flat jig head. It's going to sit flat on a surface. This tail's going to wiggle, even with a little bit of current. You don't even have to wiggle it. That's what you want. If you're using a jig head that's round or even a mushroom, it's not going to stand straight up and down. If you're using a worm other than that ELZA Tech brand that's super buoyant, it's not going to stand and wiggle back and forth, okay? There is another video I have, if you want to look it up, on my channel where I actually demo the Ned rig in the water, and you can see what I'm talking about. So be sure to look that one up. But hopefully this helps you. And one other thing, one other tip as far as Ned rig goes, you can see on a finesse Ned, this hook is not very big. You know, not a real big hook by any means. And so you will have a tendency, unless you set the hook just right and very quickly, you'll have a tendency to lose fish. If that becomes a problem, you can upgrade to these power finesse hooks. I'm trying to get to where you guys can see it. I know it's, there we go. You can see how much bigger those are in comparison to hopefully that'll kind of show you that this is a much longer shank and a much bigger hook. These power finesse, if you're losing a lot of fish. Now, I think that you could use a power finesse. You can use one of these on a finesse Ned rig, and you'd still have enough tail to wiggle and it would be fine. So that's a killer setup. But you can also, with those longer, bigger hooks, you can upgrade to a full TRD. So just something to think about if you're using the finesse setup on the Ned and you find that you're losing some fish. So I'm not sponsored by Z-Man, and I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion affiliated with them. And so this is just purely a matter of me wanting to help you out and give you a tip. So, tight lines, God bless. I hope this helps. If it does, give me a thumbs up and hit the old subscribe button if you haven't already. Take care.